Let me say this right up front. If you're waiting to feel confident before you hit record, you're going to be waiting a long time. Confidence doesn't come before recording, it comes because you record. And today, I want to help you show up naturally, without scripts, without pressure, and without second guessing every word. Hey, friends, I'm Laura Templeton, and this is week 4 of my behind the scenes YouTube series where I'm walking you through how I built my podcast the real way. This isn't the podcast itself, this is where I show you how the podcast gets made. And today I'm talking about recording, how to show up confidently on camera or mic, even if you don't love the sound of your own voice. Most people don't struggle with technology, they struggle with self confidence. What if I sound awkward? What if I forget what I was going to say? And what if I don't like the way I look or sound? And here's the truth, none of that disqualifies you from sharing your message. I don't script my episodes, I outline, I center myself, and then I speak. My interviews are literally questions that I've created and formatted, but a lot of times I go off script because it's a conversation. I want my conversations with my guests to feel human, not rehearsed. I'd rather be clear and connected than perfect and polished. And that's what I want for you too. So even in my solo episodes where I do use somewhat of a script, I still want to feel that connection between you and I, my audience. So before you hit record and before, you go live, either before you hit record, whether you're going to record on Zoom or whether you're going to go live on YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever you're going to go, but before you hit that record button, yeah, this is my this is my prep routine. So before I record, I do 3 things. I get clear on the one point I want to make. I remind myself who I'm speaking to, whether it's one person, my guest, obviously, or to one person, not an audience. Even when I'm doing my solo presentations, even when I'm doing this particular video, I'm talking to you, one person, right? The one person who needs to hear what I am sharing. So I take a breath and I release the need to perform. This isn't a performance, it's a conversation. And that's what I want you to remember. It's a conversation. You're having a conversation with your audience. Whoops, I just said audience instead of one person, right? So, what I want you to do, and this is one of the things that helped me very early on in when I started recording videos, when it was just me by myself, and I didn't want to see myself on screen. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be looking at myself while I'm talking, like I'm talking to myself. I started imagining other people, my ideal client, the person that I know this message is meant for. That's who I start to envision in my mind who I'm talking to. So if you're recording solo or interviewing guests, these things matter more than you think. Okay. So these are just a few tips that I have for you. So sit comfortably, and being grounded really matters, right? Having your feet touching the ground, really having that solid contact. A lot of times when I'm recording, especially if I'm recording with a guest, I like to stand. I have a standing desk, so my desks will adjust. Now I'm sitting, and definitely my feet are on the floor, not sitting up, hanging from my chair or on the leg of my chair. I make sure that my feet are grounded flat on the floor. So I am, just really intentionally grounding myself. When I am standing, again, it's about grounding myself, but it's where that energy comes from. It's like I just feel the energy coming from my feet all the way up through my body. It's the excitement. And I think that's where we find our that power, right? That energy comes from being comfortable where you're at. And I think that's really intentional about how we show up. So speak a little slower than you think you need to. I'm sorry. I know this, I'm saying this as I'm speaking very quickly. Tendency to talk fast. And I always tease my audience, especially when I'm on stage and performing. When I am on stage, I tell people I don't talk fast. So you just listen slow. And of course, that obviously gets a laugh. But think about it. Your audience is trying to process what you're saying. So slowing down just a little bit in your speech, that will come. That'll come the more comfortable you get showing up on camera. Again, the more you show up, the easier it gets. It's just like everything else in life, right? The first time you do it may not feel so great, but the more you do it, the more comfortable and more confident you become in your skills at doing the thing that makes you the most nervous. Pause when you need to. Silence is not a mistake. I love, the silent pause. I've actually written a blog about this silent pause. And I think there's so much power in the silence, right? It builds momentum. It builds curiosity. It allows people to sink in with, to really sit with what you just said. It allows it to sink in with them. And if you mess up, keep going. That's real life. It happens, right? We make mistakes. That's also what makes us human. People want to see that we're human. They want to see us make mistakes. It's not that they want to see us make mistakes so they can make fun of us. They want to see us make mistakes so they can relate to us. And I think that's what makes us relatable. So when I'm recording interviews, my goal is simple: to create safety. I want to create a safe space where my guest feels comfortable in sharing their thoughts, their ideas, their responses become more thoughtful and more intentional. They're not overthinking it because they're afraid of, oh, what does she want me to say? It's more about giving them the space and the freedom to say what's really on their hearts, right? I don't rush. I don't interrupt. I listen. And I listen for key things that really get me excited, right? Things that I think my audience might get, are going to want to hear from the guest, right? So the best interviews don't come from perfect questions. They come from genuine curiosity. Now, I said previously that I actually have a list of questions that I use for my interviews. And the reason why I have that list of questions is kind of to keep me on track. I have a very specific topic for my podcast. The 30-second success podcast is really about those 30-second moments that change everything, that really drive us towards, the success that we are today, the success that we're building. And I want to talk about those specific 30-second decisions that really inspire us to move forward, whether they're the right decision or the wrong decision, and why that is, and how we overcame it or how we've embraced it. And using questions to keep me on track is important. But a lot of times I go off script, right? It's not really scripted. It's like, oh, let's go deeper into that answer. And that's why I think it's really important to allow your guests the room, the safety to actually answer from a place of security, that intentional place, that's really what's on their heart and what's on their mind, so that we can kind of dig in, right? Because I want my audience to learn from that, from their experiences. And those are the best interviews, right? The ones that they come from genuine curiosity, they come from exploring things. But again, I use those questions to kind of bring me back to refocus on the purpose of the podcast and keep us on time. That's the other thing, right? I want to make sure that we keep on time. So I truly believe this. God doesn't ask us to be impressive. He asks us to be available. If he placed a message on your heart, he already factored in your voice, your personality, and your delivery. You don't need to sound like anyone else. You just need to sound like you. So be you, right? When I'm interviewing people, I'm me. When I'm doing my solo podcast episodes, I'm me. I'm sharing who I am, what I do, how I do it, right? I'm putting myself out into the world. Yes, I feel a little bit vulnerable sometimes, and that's okay, because that's where the true me comes through, right? I'm okay being vulnerable because this is who I am. This is what I do. And it doesn't show up as being fake. And this is who I'm called to be. And I love it. And I enjoy what I do. So here are some practical takeaways for you. If your recordings feel intimidating, start here, right? If recording if recording yourself on video or recording an interview with someone, a conversation with someone feels intimidating, start here, right? Outline what you wanted to say, outline what you want the conversation to be about, outline what you want your talk to be about, and don't script it, right? Don't script it word for word because it sounds scripted, right? And it feels scripted. There's no emotion to it when you're just reading from a script. If you do script something, sit with it, right? Sit with it, play with it, memorize it. Don't read it verbatim, word for word from the page. It becomes a lot more natural when you've read through it several times. Yes, you can have it in front of you, you can read from it, you can play with it, but make sure that it feels natural to you when you're reading it. So talk to one person, right? When you are again in that solo podcast mode where it's just you, talk to one person. Think about, I'm not talking to a huge audience. It's this message was meant for one person to make an impact on one person's life. Record short episodes at first. That's really powerful, right? Doing short episodes where it's not overwhelming to try and figure out what you're going to say for a long period of time. And then allow imperfection. Don't go editing, right? I don't mind editing some things, but to be honest with you, I love putting raw footage out there. This is who I am. I don't want to have to chase perfection. That's not who I'm here for. And again, I think the imperfections allow our audience to see who we are and to realize that we're human. It allows them to see that, we make mistakes. It's okay. They want to be more like us and trust the clarity that grows with practice. And I think that's where the inspiration comes from, that, the clarity, it really grows, right? It really comes through. Your confidence comes through as well. So if you want help getting clear before you record, download the podcast clarity worksheet. It will help you focus your message before you hit record. And if you want support templates and systems that make it easier, you'll find those inside the Brand Success Hub. So next week, we're talking about guest interviews, how to invite the right people and create conversations that actually matter. You don't need to sound perfect. You need to show. Thank you for being here. Until next week, Laura Templeton with 30 Second Success.